just share screen. Hello, everyone. Welcome to SEL Tools for Active Learning. And welcome to the last session of today. I hope you've all been enjoying the rest of the sessions that we had so far. This is our fourth session of the day for our second Tech Virtual Summit. It's been really great. If there's any sessions that you missed, we are going to have all of those up on a special YouTube page, so you'll be able to see all those different videos. You're just hopping into the session right now. Welcome to SEL Tools for Active Learning. Chrissy actually presented this last week to an audience with SMART, and it was phenomenal. So we are so excited to bring this to our virtual summit. It was a last minute throw in. So we're all so grateful that you were able to see the link and register for this. It really is an excellent presentation, incredibly valuable, especially during this very strange time where we don't have that face-to-face, person-to-person interaction with our students. So getting the social emotional learning aspect into teaching this way is very important. We're going to get started in just about another minute. We're going to let more people fill in. Chrissy Rebert is the VP of, actually, your title is not correct there. You're Global Instructional Solutions. She's even bigger than what you see on your screen. She's global. She's amazing, and you're gonna really enjoy watching her presentation today. Chrissy is absolutely phenomenal, and like I said, I got to see this presentation last week, and it was just so valuable. Okay, and with that, we are going to get started. I am going to exit out of this, stop sharing my screen, and introduce myself. Hi, everyone. My name is Nina Sclafani. I am the Senior Events Coordinator for Tech, and welcome to our second Tech Virtual Summit. Today, you are joining us for SEL Tools for Active Learning. As I mentioned before, Chrissy presented this last week. It was an excellent presentation. So I'm so glad that you're all joining us today. In order for you to participate in this session, if you scroll over your screen, you'll see at the bottom there is a Q&A box as well as a chat box. In the chat box, let us know who you are and where you're from and what you teach. If there's anything in the presentation that you think is exceptional, let us know. We'd love to hear it. And if you have a question, feel free to ask it in the Q&A box. I'll be in there trying to help answer any questions that you have, but in case I can't answer that question, we're gonna save about 10 minutes for the end, and Chrissy will be able to address those questions for us. Just a couple of questions that you all might have. This will be available as a recording following today's presentation. So we will send that to you in an email. You'll be able to access this webinar as well as all the other webinars that we run throughout this week's virtual summit on our YouTube page, which will be linked to in the email you receive. We will not be issuing individual certifications of participation for the summit, but in the email that you do receive, there will be a line that addresses it in case you do need to show proof of attendance. So you'll be able to use that email. And last, any presentation slides that Chrissy uses, we are also going to include in that email, as well as any additional pieces of information that she thinks might be vital for you. With that, I would like to introduce Chrissy Rebert, and she is going to wow you. I think she's going to wow you. So welcome, Chrissy. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully you can see my screen now. Nina, is it
we can see it. Yep, it's up. It's good.
Great. Fantastic. Well, thank you again for joining me today. So my name is Chrissy Rebert, and I am the Vice President of Global Instructional Solutions with Tech, and this is SEL Tools for Active Learning. I wanted to do this session again because it was so well attended and so well received, and is such an important topic in today's educational world, because education is so much more complex than ever before. Success for our students requires not only the development of academics, but also the skills far beyond the mastery of our academic content. Even within today's education and beyond into the careers, Students need to develop the skills such as critical thinking, problem solving, communication, and collaboration. And all the research shows that occupations that are continuing to grow not only need the cognitive skills growth, but also the social skills, such as your cooperation, your empathy, and your flexibility. So I think this topic is so important, and that's why we're addressing it again. So the agenda for today is to first start with, what is SEL? SEL can be defined in different ways. What's the research behind it, and why is it so important to integrate it into our schools? And what's the impact not only on our educators, but on our students, community, and families as well? Then I want to take you, because this will be an interactive webinar, into a lesson and show you how we can incorporate SEL into, well, this one will be an ELA lesson. It's a book study. It will be interactive, so you'll be participating with me. I will be delivering it through Smart Learning Suite Online, which is what my presentation is on right now. And then I want to follow up with additional resources. So I've broken it down into the 5 core competencies as defined by CASEL. And I have defined individual skills within those competencies, and I want to give you different instructional strategies. And then we'll also show you how you can learn how to build a lesson like I'm going to deliver today, or activities, or even find additional resources on our Otis platform, which is our online professional learning platform. If you do have any questions, like Nina says, feel free to put them in the chat. If there's anything you want to save to the end, we'll also have a few minutes to do that as well. So students' ability to learn, like I said before, is not just on the instruction, but it's also on the school environment. We want to make sure that they have healthy interactions with their peers, relationships with their teachers, and all the neuroscience research demonstrates that both emotion and cognition are inextricably linked. So what does that mean for us? What is SEL? Well, this definition is defined by CASEL, which is your Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning. It's the process through which children learn and apply the knowledge, their attitudes, their skills. They manage their emotions, they set their own goals, and they show compassion and create relationships with others. CASEL has defined 5 core competencies. I know some others go up to 8, but I'm just going to work with the 5 core competencies for today. That's self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making. So in focusing on these 5 core competencies is an excellent way for you to ensure that you are going to have a cohesive social and emotional implementation plan. So what's the impact on our students? Evidence suggests that building healthy social and emotional skills leads to greater life success and higher lifetime earnings. So helping children to improve their self-awareness, their confidence, or manage their emotions and their impulses, increase their empathy for one another, improves both their behavior and their academic achievement. And the research documenting social and emotional learning and the impact is absolutely compelling. More than 2 decades of research demonstrates that education promoting SEL gets results. The findings come from multiple fields as well, from psychology, from academics, from classroom management, from employment, from economics, from health, from neuroscience. There's a multitude of different fields and sources that they've taken this research from. So for as far as students are concerned, the impact leads to not only greater outcomes, but improved behaviors. Their academic outcomes have been shown as, an increase by 11 percentile points. That's huge. And then of course, better classroom management, because you have improved behaviors, you have less stress, less depression, better attitudes to themselves, which then helps create better relationships with their fellow students and with their teachers. The impact is so long-term and global that it has been shown to have a positive impact for up to 18 years later, not only on the academics, but also on their emotions, their lack of conduct problems, and even drug use. The 11-1 to return on investment is that for every dollar invested, there's an $11 return when implementing SEL into your academic world. It can help reduce poverty and improve your economic mobility. The SEL competencies are important for long-term success. Like I said, even up to 18 years, it is shown that students not only are better in their careers, but even in their home lives as well. Improving lifetime outcomes. There is a statistically significant association between social and emotional learning skills in kindergarten and the key outcomes for young adults in years to come later. So there are a lot of positive effects for prioritizing social and emotional learning in combination with your academics. But what does it mean for our teachers? Well, the research shows that 95% of educators agree that social and emotional learning is extremely important to incorporate. Not all feel like they have enough answers, and not all feel like they have enough training in order to incorporate it into their lessons or how to affect all students. So I think that's one thing to consider when we're looking at our additional resources, but they have agreed that it does create a better classroom environment and better classroom management, that the relationships amongst themselves and their students, as well as the students with one another, is better. And there's a deeper understanding, and it almost creates a better sense of community. And we're going to talk a little bit about that too when we go live with our lesson on how we can help to foster some of these skills. Couple of things to consider when returning, especially during this time. And keep in mind that everything that I'm going to show you, including the resources, can be applied whether you are going to be in a hybrid learning environment, whether you're going to be completely remote, or whether you're going to do an in-person and practice safe social distancing. So all of what we're going to talk about and show in these lessons today can be used in those 3 different scenarios. When you are going to return to the classroom, think about building and cultivating relationships. It is okay for you to focus on building relationships first. You want to make sure that you are supporting your students, because think about the different home lives that your students are going to have and what they've experienced. It is going to look different for all of your students. So it is really important that you start off, think about, I remember when I was in the classroom, the first week or so was setting up your rules and your regulations and your different processes. So think about that even if you're in a hybrid or in a remote situation. What is that going to look like? Create your safe environments, create your supportive environments, create an environment where every student has a voice, and use that data to make sure that you're reaching everybody, including the families. There are a few things when you're thinking about your roadmap to return, and especially this trauma-informed approach. Always start with a positive, right? You guys know this. Always start with the strengths. What social emotional learning strengths are you seeing in your kids? Start with the strengths. Focus on the positive and the strengths before you start to work on some of those other skills. When you're establishing your routines and maintaining your clear communication, make sure that you're chunking that communication so that they are truly understanding it. And remember, your routines don't need to look the same in a remote and a hybrid environment as they did when you were in the classroom. And I know a lot of you were thrown into this in March, and you probably have done a phenomenal job. But as you're setting up for this new school year, remember what these kids might have been going through, and make sure that you're very clear communicating what you want from these students. And like I said before, relationships should take priority. It is fine that you start and make sure that you maintain and create relationships within your students. You're going to see in the Smart Learning Suite online lesson that I created how we are going to foster small group discussions and larger group sharing. Make sure that your students feel safe to communicate with you. and then connect them together. So you'll see in this lesson, we can put kids into these smaller or larger groups. We can do peer-to-peer learning. Make sure that you are encouraging the students, even if they're not in the classroom, that they're still developing these new relationships. And create a sense of hope for them. Let them know, even though things are different, we can still be extremely successful. We can still be supportive of one another, and really we can make learning a lot of fun, even in this kind of crazy pandemic. So right now, I want you to join me. So I want you to open up a browser, and I want you to type in hellosmart.com. And I want you to put in 32942. These are the numbers. And I want you to tell me, what does social and emotional learning look like to you? I've given you the CASEL definition. I've given you what the core competencies that we're going to work on, but what does it look like for you? I want you to type in your answers and hit send. And I'm just going to put this back up here. I see Michelle's in as a guest. Go to hellosmart.com, open another browser, and I want you to enter in the class ID 32942. I see right now I have 6 students connected. Go ahead and type in your answer and send in what you think social and emotional learning is. What does it mean to you? I see Dawn. See Erica. I see quite a few entering. Go ahead and type in your answers and send them to the board. Support of students' well-being, creating a safe class environment and encourage student voice. And I'm glad you mentioned that, because you're going to see in this lesson a lot of voice and choice. We want to make sure that the students have the ability, right, to develop their own sense of well-being. SEL learning is inherent in education, considering challenges and providing choice. And you're right, it is inherent in education. And I think about this all the time. We have such a focus on the social and emotional learning, but I remember when I was back in the classroom, we do this as teachers naturally, but now we're just creating more of a focus on it and pointing it out where we actually do it. So that's excellent. The development of a class community, addressing students' needs and providing a positive learning environment, excellent. SEL is allowing kids to express themselves and feel free and confident to do so, great. Helping students achieve goals, showing and teaching empathy, empowering decision-making, excellent. And I know we have quite a few more than 6, so I'm gonna put out this number one more time if you wanna participate, and thank you for those that are. hellosmart.com and enter the class ID 32942. Don't be shy. I'm not calling anybody's names out. Glenda said in the chat, fostering a safe environment. Thank you. And you're right, it is fostering a safe environment, especially in these times. I know we have a couple more on here. Feel free. Let's hear from your answers. And if the chat is an easier way for you to add it, by all means, go ahead and add it in the chat also. Great, I have 9 students connected. I'll give it another second. hellosmart.com 32942. Great. Helping students figure out why they feel the way they do. And that's excellent. And I'm going to show you in some of our additional resources at the end, some books that are really good for fostering those feelings as well. I'll give it another second. I see a few more that have joined us, so please feel free. Stay on this, because we're going to be playing some games and interacting with one another above and beyond the shouted out activity. This shouted out activity is part of Smart Learning Suite Online. It is a great way, like we're doing now, to communicate with our students. It makes for a very good exit ticket. It's even a great way when we think about fostering those emotional skills. How are students feeling? Is there anything they wanted to talk about today? It's a great way to foster that communication. Providing an environment where all children learn in one way or another. I love that. Prioritizing relationships between you and your students and between your students and themselves. Great. supporting each other, our families and students. And I think this one's really important to point out too. We have to make sure in these times and through setting up next year that our families are completely involved as best as we can. We know some of them may not choose to be, but I think it's really important that we give our families that voice as well. Whoever you are, great, thank you. I'm assuming that's a book title.
Chrissy, I just want to ask, because I believe that they're asking about using Smart Response. Is there a capability for students to comment on others' posts within Smart Response?
Well, within the shout it out, no, they cannot. I mean, so yes and no. So this is a shouted out activity, which is found in your labs. And if I allowed you 3 responses, I could say 1 response or 2 responses would be your own and 1 response to another. And I can actually have multiple categories. So I could have set this up. For those of you that are out there that know the KWL charts, I could have done 2 different categories and done 1 category of tell me what your thoughts are, and 1 category there would have been a line down the middle that divided and a category that said comment on something that was posted. So there is a way to do it. So yes, thank you for asking that.
Excellent. And there was one more question about this specifically. Thea says, I noticed that I am only able to see my response. When doing this with a class, is there a way for students to see all the responses?
So you should be able to see the board like mine. You're putting your responses in. If you are in my workspace, then yes, you would be able to see them. If you are integrating this into something like the Zoom, as long as you're within my Zoom page, you would be able to see it. Does that answer that question? And if it doesn't and you want more clarification on it, feel free to email me and we can work through it. Okay, any others, Nina, that I should address?
Nope, that's it for now.
Okay, great. So I'm going to now, I'm just to show you guys right now too, I'm in teacher mode, so you're moving along with me, not in student mode. So I'm going to go to the next page, and thank you for those who are participating. Please stay within that Hello Smart, because you're going to join me in a game in just a moment. So I want you to think about this as we're going to be moving through a lesson. The Smart Learning Suite Online, which is what we're in right now, and we just did that shouted out activity, can support your social and emotional learning in the 5 core competencies and the different skills, because it's going to allow you to have a voice and choice, because I can actually hand out this lesson and you can actually choose which method you learn best in. You can actually comment just like you did in the shout it out. You can be participating actively with me. I can give you ways to collaborate peer-to-peer, small group, or even whole class interaction, which I'll show you. So it's really promoting a lot of that cooperative learning and creating that sense of community. It fosters communication in that you can work within your groups, and even with myself, we can work back and forth together. I talked about the small group and the large group, and then it really helps to create relationship building. And I'm going to give you some ways in our additional resources where you can even send your kids, whether they're remote or hybrid, on a scavenger hunt where they're actually working together and creating better relationships. So think about this as we're moving through this lesson. Think about which one of these skills that you're seeing and any additional that might be implemented. So we just kind of talked a little bit about what it looks like in a lesson. So I'm going to go past this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump out of this presentation for a moment, and I'm going to take you to a lesson on a book study. And I'm going to have you actively participating with me. So bear with me for a moment. It's going to put your Hello Smart on hold as I go into my dashboard and I go into my book study. And I can see right now, I still have my 13 students in here. I'm still in teacher pacing. If I switched it over to student pacing, it would allow you to move through, but I'm going to keep it in teacher pacing for right now. And I'm going to start this, and I want you to participate with me in this monster quiz. But I'm going to break you guys up into groups, and I'm going to actually lower this a little bit. If you can hear the music, I'm not sure. All right, so I have my groups right here. I'm going to divide you into teams. So we'll divide you into 4 different teams. Now, if I knew certain kids didn't work well together, I wanted to switch them around, I do have the ability to switch my groups. okay? But I'm gonna start the quiz, and I want you now, even though you're remote, whether this was hybrid or remote or even in class, you don't have to be directly with your group in order to participate and create this team building. So go ahead and to the best of your ability, answer. I'm not going to check whether you're right or wrong. I just want to show you how you can play this game from all different places. As you're answering the questions, you can see that your monsters are starting to hatch if you're getting the answers correct. If you are incorrect, it's going to recycle your question, and it'll keep asking it until all of their team members get it correct. And for time's sake, we may not go through the entire thing because I want to show you some of the other parts of the SLS Online and how we're integrating these social and emotional skills. But right now, this is your collaboration. This is your cooperative learning, working with your groups. This is your relationship building. And I see if they're shaking, that means you're not getting it the correct answer, but it will recycle and you can try again. I'll give you another minute. Good job. See a lot of people up. I see Case Crashers is starting to hatch their monster. Keep going. You're almost there. I see an arm or a leg. Good job, Erica and Kate, Michelle, Thea. Excellent. Good job, Dawn. Come on, Case Crashers. I want one monster out before we end it. So as you're continuing to answer within this whole group or even smaller groups, I could have put you all on one team. This is a great activity also to review a specific lesson, or even if you had a homework assignment, you could start your online learning or remote learning or hybrid learning with a monster quiz, just like I'm doing, to see how much information they retained from the night before or a couple days before in a lesson. It'll give me the results of which questions they got correct, which ones they did not, and if a majority of the class knew specific questions. So I would know which ones I wanted to review. Good job, Case Crashers. So I'm gonna go on to the next page. And this one is, what comes to mind when you hear science fiction? Again, this is a shout it out, much like I did when I asked you for the SEL. This is, again, giving you that voice to tell me what you think about science fiction. For time's sake, I'm just gonna, well, I'll just show you what it looks like. It's much like that shout it out. What I would ask you what your thoughts are on science fiction, and you would type in your answer and send it to the board. But for timing, I'm gonna go to the next. This is where I can then play a video on what is science fiction. So now I'm really targeting to the different methodologies of learning and what students may choose. So I told you that I put this in teacher mode. If I switch this over to student mode, you can go through this lesson and you can go and determine if you wanted to watch this movie, or perhaps you wanted to read, or maybe you even wanted to play a game. So I'm going to switch this over to student mode for a moment and allow you guys to play the fill in the blanks. This is where I can drag and drop. I define science fiction. So it's giving the children their voice and their choice of the way that they learn best. You can see that I'm able to drop and drag. I'm going to put it back in teacher mode for a moment and take you to the next screen. So it's a way for me to be able to do a direct instruction, but I also can give this to the students so they can do a little student-led, right? That's fostering their own self-esteem. It's allowing them to learn at their own pace. So think about your classroom management. Think about this lesson, this mini lesson that I'm going through, with the ability to also do it as a direct instruction in a remote or hybrid situation, but also I can actually hand out and have students go through this asynchronously.
Chrissy, we had a couple of questions come in just now. And so Ira had asked, is there a library of pre-made activities or templates?
So yes, there are. And when I go through the additional resources, I'm going to show you some of those templates that are pre-made, some of the activities that are pre-made. And then again, on our Otis platform, our online professional learning, if you guys participate in that or want to purchase our online learning platform, and there are some free courses as well, we do have lessons that are made. And then we also teach you how to create your own lessons depending on your grade level and your student population. So that's an excellent question.
Great. And then there was two more, but they kind of work together. Are teammates able to communicate and collaborate? If so, how? Because they was wondering, how is this working as a team? So is there a collaboration that they could do to communicate with each other?
So I'm really glad you asked, because that's exactly what I'm taking you into now. So that monster quiz is really just kind of working. Maybe I put kids from different groups together, or reading groups or things like that, to answer questions. Or maybe I put them in as a whole class and we started the activity where we're all just working together to answer the questions to hatch the monster. But this particular activity that I'm putting in, so I could put you in different teams. So I can put you in, let's just say we'll go into 3 teams again. And again, I can switch these names if I wanted to, just by simply dragging and dropping. When I start your workspaces, I want you to see that right here I have team 1, team 2, and team 3. So as I click on team 1, they can actually, I can see what they're writing. I can even add my own notes if I wanted to into theirs. They can type in, they can erase, and they can write. So we have the ability to work together in our teams through this handout. So when I create a page, and again, for time's sake, I'm going to just hold off for a moment. What I just want to show you something. When I create a page, at the bottom, it gives me the ability to either create it as a handout to do individual, or I can create it as a workspace where I can put kids in teams together to complete a project-based learning, or just even a worksheet. And I hope that answers your question. And I can see as the educator, if you guys are adding anything, I can see your notes. Nina's in there. By clicking on the team name, that shows me what each team is working on. What was the other one, Nina, that was in there? Or was that together?
They were pretty much together. It was just basically how do people communicate in these activities, and that was a great example of that.
And while you're in those workspaces, you can type notes to one another. You can use the writing tools. You can add multimedia. And then this particular one, so that was a workspace where I showed you can work in groups. And I know we're going quick and you may not see the full extent of this. I am happy if you want to email me to do a little bit more of a full demo with you, and we can go in and actually complete some of these handouts or the workspace activities, or even show you how we create them. But for time's sake today, I won't go into that. But again, you'll have my contact information, and I can certainly do this a little bit more like on a personal level if you want some people from your district to go in. This is a handout. This is where I could hand it out individually. You could see instead of groups, these are individual names. So you would actually get this particular page to do all by yourself. So there are options where you are doing small group, large group, one-on-one, and complete class. So I'm going to go through for a moment, just going through my lesson. This is, again, I just want to show you the different types of activities. These are the individual handouts. And then at the end, this is one of my favorite pages. This, again, is giving the students a voice and choice. So at the end, I can even say to them, choose which option you are going to work on. Do you want to create a family tree? Do you want to conduct an interview? And this is where the students get to choose from a menu what activity they want to do. You can even end with this, where you deliver this and tell them when you meet back, if it's in a hybrid or situation where they can come, this can be a homework assignment. You can hand this out where they're working individually, but this is really where you're working on some of those self-awareness skills and really kind of building their own self-esteem and allowing them to choose what they feel they're going to excel at the most. So this is just a very small mini lesson. I'm going to go back into my presentation so I can show you some of those other resources. And for time's sake, I know I'm going quickly. So again, I'll share this with you. If there's anything particular you want to revisit, by all means, we can go back. Everything that I'm going to show you and all these activities, how to create a lesson, a full lesson, that was a mini lesson, different techniques that I'm about to show you to help foster the skills for the 5 core competencies. We offer a lot of these resources on our oldest platform, which is our online professional development platform. We have over 800 courses on different topics, but we have SEL specific. We have over 112 courses for remote and hybrid learning. So I would encourage you, if you've never been on it, to go ahead and set up a free trial. We can help you with that as well. But to take a look at what's offered on there, because it will help you with some of these resources. Now, I really wanted to break it down to the different core competencies. So what I did with this is identified each core competency as outlined by Castle, talked about the different skills, identifying emotions, self-perception, recognizing strengths, confidence, self-efficacy. So these are your different skills that you can foster within these lessons that we're creating. And you can integrate these skills into different subject areas, lessons, or activities that you're creating, whether you're hybrid, remote, or online. And these are different strategies or techniques that you can implement. And what I've done on the side all the way to the right is show you what is included in the Smart Learning Suite online that will help you to foster these skills and to implement these different techniques. So you can use different videos in the YouTube and implement them into your lesson for meditation and mindfulness, emotional vocabulary lists. And this is where you had talked about or asked me questions on the different templates. So I'm going to go back and show you where to find them. But there's different templates like draw how you're feeling. There's games where I can have flip cards in the lab activities where I can have different vocabulary words on there, pictures on the other side for our ELL learners, and you can have conversations on how they're feeling, or students can write different things regarding the emotions they're seeing on those cards. There are 12 pre-made templates for questioning and reflection, which I'll show you. So you can use those for different questionnaires for self-efficacy. For self-management, these are the different skills: your impulse control, managing your stress, self-discipline, motivating yourself. Think about that voice and choice. Kids will be more motivated when they're choosing their own way to learn. Organizational skills. So for grounding techniques and impulse controls, 3, 2, 1 countdown, it's a great way if students are feeling overwhelmed or stressed out or want to act. You can have them look at the 3, 2, 1 and actually do the different activities that you put. Choose 3 words to describe how you're feeling, point out 2 things within the room. So think about these templates that are already pre-made for you. Stress management, the games. The shout it out is part of those games. That drag and drop was part of those games. You can have students doing sorting activities, matching activities. There's 11 templates for those different game-based activities that take less than 5 minutes, most of them 3 to 5 minutes to create. It's 6-word summary for a voice and choice. Put 6 different activities and let the students choose which one they want to complete for a homework assignment, or maybe have them choose, and according to which activity the students chose, you can group those kids the next time you meet into a small group where you're really working on that small group discussion. Or even goal setting. So you can have the kids work together to create, almost like I used to do with mine, that in the beginning, you have the kids create their own rules and regulations for what a hybrid learning or remote learning environment should look like. What goals do they want to set to reach for that first semester or the first couple weeks? Think about your responsible decision-making, identifying problems, analyzing situations, reflection, and your ethical responsibility. So for rank order, you can read a book, problem solving. What should the student do first? Evaluate your different solutions, those flip out cards. That's where you have different cards that you put up on the board. You touch them and they flip over. So you can have pictures, and you can have different problems on the other side where the kids are collaborating. Maybe they're doing the shout it out activity to post solutions that they feel would be best. Your academic contracts. Have the kids write with this pre-made template. Give them 1 minute to write down what they think they should accomplish within the first week of school. Create a contract for whole class. Gather all the different information that the students are putting in, and you can create one contract. So have the kids adding to it maybe on day 3, day 4. And then role playing. Have the students role play together in that collaborative space on ways to deal with certain situations or ways that they have dealt with this pandemic. What has been successful for them? Just giving you different ideas and strategies. Social awareness, here's 4 different skills that you should focus on when you're creating your lessons. Active listening is a good technique. Within Smart Learning Suite Online, you can actually incorporate pre-made PDFs, worksheets. It is fully integrates with Google. So you can be using not only what you're creating from the games and the pre-made templates or even notebook if you use that, but you can actually automatically upload your PDFs and different PowerPoints as well. So diversity story time. On our online professional development platform, Otis, our courses will recommend different resources, books, interactive books where students get to choose what ending they think would be best. If that one didn't work out, go back and choose a different ending so you can see what that looks like. Listening circles are always a good option. Relationship skills. Again, they're shouted out. You can do scavenger hunts even in a remote and hybrid situation. That is a lot of fun. Conflict resolution. You can have the kids do a matching game for which resolution is best for which problem they see. And lots of different games already included. Templates where you're just plugging and playing. So I'm going to go back to my home page, my dashboard, before I go into questions, and I want to show you. When I log on to my Smart Learning Suite Online, this is my dashboard. And so for those that ask the questions about the pre-made templates, this green bar at the top left that says Add Activities gives me the ability to import my PowerPoints that are already done, any notebook files that I've created, or even PDFs. And just as you saw, the different tiles, each page would become a tile that you can hand out to the students. And even a PowerPoint page can become a collaborative workspace for a student if you'd like to create it that way. You can add videos. You can even add blank pages on the fly. Your shouted out activity. Response is my formative assessment. So I can actually create formative assessments. Multiple answers, true, false, multiple choice. There's 11 game-based activities, much of which I talked about. These are already created. You would actually plug and play your information, but the templates are done. You can actually just do a preview by clicking on the little icon, and it'll give you a preview of what that particular activity is. Templates are already done. You have 5 activities for activating prior knowledge. So you can just fill in your own information. And then you also have 12 templates for questioning and reflection that are created. And like I said, to learn a little bit more on how to create these lessons, to implement those techniques that I talked about to foster skill development for the 5 core competencies, you can always go to our otis.tech.com. That's our online professional learning platform where we have different categories you can choose from. You can search by grade level. You can search by subject area. It is both synchronous and asynchronous. You can go on to our calendar and see what courses will be upcoming. By hovering over them, it'll give a description. We have Ask Otis. If you're on the platform and you had a question, you could chat now, schedule a call, or even email us to set up a time or to answer a question. We have different lessons that are already built for those that ask that question. You can also go in and learn about our different skills and our techtivities. So different activities that have videos to complement them. So there's lots of different ways to support what you saw today. Otis has all of those courses, lessons, activities, and additional resources that will support you implementing SEL into your classrooms. Now, I'm going to be quiet. I have about 15 minutes left. Here is my email if you want to email me a question. If you want to see something in a little bit more in-depth presentation. And if you want, I'm actually going to give you student access if you wanted to page through this presentation on your own, to go ahead and play around and go through some things that maybe I went a little quickly on. But I'll open it up for questions now. If there's something I didn't address, please feel free to ask. Can you add Google Slides and Docs? It is fully integrated with Google, yes. So I can actually put the link of this presentation in my Google Classroom, but I can also save into my Google and open this directly up from Google as well. It is fully integrated with Google. Excellent question. Is there a way to track the progress of each individual student throughout the school year? If you're doing the formative assessments within that response, I can track what the students are doing. I can export that to an Excel document so I can do a pre and a post assessment. But I can't necessarily track everything that's inside of this notebook file unless I'm putting them in the collaborative groups, in which case I can see what you're doing and it's saving the information for me. But if I do the formative assessments through the response, then yes, I can keep that data and export it to an Excel spreadsheet and into a grade book. Excellent question. Any additional questions? Okay, so before I let you go, right now oh, I see another question came through. Is there something I did not answer?
Nope, I just see that there's so many features to try, which is true. It really,
exactly.
it does feel endless.
Exactly. So I'm going to end on the bottom left. I'm hitting a plus sign. I'm going to really quick do one more shouted activity. I would like you to tell me one thing that you learned or one thing that you still want to know about. And if you contact me separately, then I am happy to answer any questions. So send to me right now one thing you learned that's going to help you in implementing SEL. And if not, tell me one thing you want me to include. And then reach out to me and I'm happy to answer the question for you.
Judith, unfortunately, we are not offering CTLE hours for this, but we are going to be sending a proof of participation within the email that you're going to receive. So, you know, perhaps maybe there's something you could do with your school district to work that out.
Great. Anybody want to send me one thing they learned? You're still in your hellosmart.com. There we go. One thing I learned was the ability to create small groups. Great. To collaborate. Fantastic. Good. I'm glad that you enjoyed learning about smart learning as a way to keep students engaged. Anybody else want to add anything? Anything outstanding I didn't cover that you would like me to answer? Please feel free to email me. I had a couple of questions on how to engage the little ones if you're going to be in a remote but social distancing. You can create, I had somebody ask me about giving hugs if they want to hug. And since we can't do that right now, come up with your emojis on a stick and show them that you're giving them an air hug, or create emojis that you can share with them through this collaborative space. Give them the ability to show how they're feeling. Within this shouted out activity, you can send pictures as well as type in words. You have lessons already created. Yes, we do. And we also have those templates, don't forget. All right. Well, I really appreciate you guys joining me today. I thank you for your active participation in my presentation as well. Again, here's my email. Should you have any additional questions that you didn't want to ask here, please reach out to me. I'm always available to answer any questions. And I wish you guys the best of luck in this new way of learning. And thank you again.
Thank you so much, Chrissy. This was excellent.
Oh,
And
wait.
for those of you who are interested in keeping the learning going this week, I urge you to visit tech.com. If you go to the main landing page, you will see the events tab. Sorry, I'm looking at it off to the side. Click on the events tab. You'll see the Tech Virtual Summit 2. That's where you'll be able to register for all the different sessions that we have coming up this week. We have some great stuff tomorrow from PyTop. We are doing something with Rube Goldberg, those machines like I always think of the Pee Wee Herman breakfast machine. So how to do that during distance learning. Lots of amazing things. So check it out, sign up, and we hope to see you in the coming days.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.